Hi everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of February and the new moon that we have in Aquarius right at the beginning of the month on the 1st. Just before we get to that, sadly, some more housekeeping, I'm afraid. I mentioned this a few months ago. There's a lovely lady called Pamela Gregory. Her domain name is pamelagregory.com. I never call myself Pamela. I'm pamgregory.com. That's my domain name. And she practices forgiveness for healing humanity, essentially. Beautiful work. She is not an astrologer. And increasingly, people are writing to her asking for an astrology consultation, and she's been gracious enough to write back to them. And I mentioned this a few months ago, and the numbers of people writing to her decreased, but now it's starting up again. So she's written to me again. And so please don't write to her. She's not an astrologer. And indeed, I am offering no client work at all at the moment. None. So that's really clear and really simple. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on WhatsApp. So anybody at all that's writing to you using my name and my photograph, offering you sessions, they are scammers. So it's very simple and very clear. So thanks for that, because I just don't want you to lose money. Now let's move on to the astrology. And this year I've called the year of revelations and revolutions. That's how I really believe it's going to be. We are going to have a lot of truth coming out this year. And this new moon in Aquarius is actually another peak moment for that. So the energies through the year are going to be intense. We're building to a crescendo in the last 3 months of the year. But at the moment, we're building up to that Aries equinox in March. Now, that is really the astrological new year. Astrologers see that as the beginning, and that chart for the Aries equinox is incredibly important. And I'll be looking at that as we get a little bit closer. But the energy building up to that, the incredibly positive energy that is upgrading humanity, is just reaching a kind of tsunami level. And people are upgrading at warp speed. We are really feeling this. So for many people, they're having physical symptoms. They're having tinnitus, ringing in the ears, aches and pains, extreme headaches. Insomnia is a big one. I mean, usually I can win prizes for sleeping. I've been awake since 1 o'clock in the morning today, and that's becoming more and more common, that I just feel wired to the mains. And I switch my router off at night, so it's not that. It's the energy that's coming in, because the magnetic field of the sun has dropped significantly, the magnetic field of the earth has dropped significantly, and the local cloud has fallen away significantly, allowing in all the extra cosmic and galactic energy that we haven't experienced before, that is creating this upgrade for Gaia and for us. And interestingly, the sign Aquarius, ruled by the planet Uranus, are very connected to these increasingly unstable geomagnetics, these solar flares, these M-class storms, these coronal mass ejections that we're seeing more and more of, the spikes in the strength and amplitude of the Schumann resonance, the Earth's heartbeat. You can follow all of these things on spaceweather.com. Is a very good source for these surges in energy coming into the Earth. And also there are many sources for the Schumann resonance that you can follow as well. So all of this is measurable, it's science, it's undeniable, but that is what is creating this immense tsunami of evolution for humanity. So in many ways, it's a really wonderful thing. Now, all of the planets are from the 4th of February, when Mercury moves direct, are going to be moving direct until the very end of April, when Pluto moves retrograde. And that creates this feeling of momentum, of fast-moving events, of things happening very, very quickly, as I think they will. And we're right on the edge of that. So this new moon in Aquarius happens at 12 degrees 19 minutes of Aquarius. It happens actually on the 31st of January at 9:45 p.m. Pacific time, and it happens on the 1st of February, 5:45 a.m. as I say, UK time, the following day, and anywhere east of the UK. So 12 degrees, 19 minutes of Aquarius. So it's a new beginning, it's a new moon. Perfect time to set a new intention for whatever you want to manifest in your life. So see where this falls in your chart. You can download a free birth chart from my website, go to the link below, get a 2-part video series that will explain to you from zero how to find these points in your chart with every update I do and what it means for you. And that's really the beginning of your astrological journey. Now, Aquarius is the sign of truth. It's the sign of science. So we could be seeing a lot of truth about the science. It's visionary. It's very future oriented, as is its ruler, Uranus. It's the energy of freedom. It's the energy of the rebel, the revolutionary. It's the energy of higher mind. It's the energy of the galactic, the stranger, the foreigner. Uranus is the energy of the planet of the awakener as well. It's very linked to our superconscious. It's the higher octave of Mercury. And Uranus is very strongly aspected at this new moon as well. So very strong, futuristic, visionary energies of truth. Now, both Aquarius and its ruler, Uranus, are linked to discontinuous energy, surges of energy, hence the link to all these unstable geomagnetics. And I don't know if I mentioned it in the last video, I recently saw a forecast by a cosmologist about the geomagnetics coming up in 2022. And he is predicting that they are increasingly unstable. But it's all because of these drops in the magnetic shields, etc., but very linked to Aquarian and Uranian energy. Now, we also have 4 planets in Capricorn. I'll show the chart in a moment, but we have 4 planets in Capricorn at this new moon. We have Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Pluto. And Mercury is conjunct Pluto very tightly in this first week in February. As I say, it goes stationary direct on the 4th at 24 degrees of Capricorn. But at this new moon, it's very tightly conjunct Pluto, which is almost at 27 degrees of Capricorn. And when you have, and this is a repeat conjunction from the end of December last year, when you have these tight conjunctions between Mercury and Pluto, it's about digging deep. You've got to get to the bottom of things. It's brilliant for research, actually, but you've got to unearth things which some people may not want to be unearthed. So it's very linked to digging up secrets, particularly sexual secrets, financial secrets. That's what Pluto's linked to, particularly of rich, powerful people, Pluto in Capricorn. So that is linking to the truth element of the Aquarian energy, that we could see more truths coming to light at around this time. And these personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and more slowly Pluto, are going to be recrossing the late degrees of Capricorn, which Jupiter and Saturn crossed at the end of 2020. So whatever was being activated at the end of 2020 by Jupiter-Saturn can be reactivated now by the personal planets, and Pluto is going to move more slowly through those. So this is a revisiting of what was happening around the end of 2020. Obviously very linked to the pandemic, because it's very much about top-down control at that time, all the rules, the regulations, the lockdowns. So this is a revisiting of that. Let's hope it isn't a reinstatement of that, but it could be a revisiting of how the government, Capricorn, has handled the pandemic since that time, linking into this new moon shining light on truth. It's going to be very interesting, I think, at this time. Venus is in a very tight trine to Uranus. Venus is at 11 of Capricorn, trine to Uranus at 10:53, almost 4 degrees, almost 11 degrees of Taurus. Capricorn and Taurus are both signs linked to banking and economics. So we could see another development, another step forward in new financial systems, particularly that are digital, because Uranus is linked to digital and in Taurus currencies. So this may be another development with cryptocurrencies in some way. Now, my understanding is that the original intent for cryptocurrencies were that they were going to be decentralized. But now I understand every country's central bank in the world has its own form of cryptocurrency ready to go. So that's going to be very interesting. Is it going to be centralized and top down? Is it going to continue to be decentralized? And this is kind of echoing the ongoing clash between Saturn and Uranus, which we had all of last year and will continue a little more loosely this year, but it's still tight at this new moon. It comes back exact to the degree in October of the old and the new, control versus freedom, particularly control versus freedom with regard to currency. Now, if Venus at 11 of Capricorn is moving through your 5th house or your 7th house of romance and relationships, it could be that a sudden, unexpected relationship comes into your life at that time, that could come really out of the blue, which could be really wonderful for you. So let us now look at the chart for this new moon. So I've set this as always for UK time because this is where I live. So if you're not on UK time, please ignore the clock face of the chart, ignore the houses. We're just looking at the signs that the planets are in and the aspects between them. This chart looks a little concentrated and squiffy because I'm using a Placidus house system. So again, don't worry about that. But just to begin, really, we can see Sun and Moon always exactly together at a new moon, 12 degrees 19 of Aquarius, and they are conjunct Saturn. Now, this is highlighting Saturn in some way. Now, it's very interesting. You might remember that Saturn entered Aquarius on the 22nd of March, 2020, and I do mean 2020. And the next day, March 23rd, most countries in the Western world went into lockdown because of the pandemic. So this new moon is shining a light on that, on restrictions of freedom, but it is also really shining a light on the building, Saturn, of new social structures, Aquarius. And that's a very positive way to look at the effect of this new moon. And the Sun and Moon at 12:19 of Aquarius are square to Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, at almost 11 of Taurus. And as I say, Aquarius, as I've said in earlier videos, there's this ongoing square between Saturn and Uranus, and I believe Saturn had the upper hand in that through 2021. There was a lot of top-down control rules, regulations for your safety. I believe this year Uranus will have the upper hand, and it's kind of been let off its leash, if you like, because as of the 18th of January, it moved direct. This is shifting the power to the people in a bigger way. And remember all of the things that I've just talked about that Uranus is about. It's about rebellion, revolution. It's about earthquakes, volcanoes of all kinds. Real ones, political ones, financial ones. It is about unstable geomagnetics, extreme earth events, extreme weather events of many kinds. It's about the future, the galactic higher mind. It's the planet of awakening. It's the planet of the superconscious. So all and any of those things. And oh, by the way, where there's a hard aspect, which this is, the square to Uranus, it can also be linked to cyber attacks. Cyber attacks that could disrupt Taurus, our financial system, or cyber attacks that could disrupt our food supply systems, Taurus. So those are all possibilities. And with Uranus, because it's the planet of surprises and the unexpected, you never quite know which way it's going to manifest until we're right into it. But it's also linked to finding our tribe, finding our community of like-minded people, be it online or in person. Building a community, building a sense of collaboration. The more we can do that, the more we will find our power and strength as the power of the people. So we have another, as well as Venus being in aspect in trine to Uranus, we also have Mars trine to Uranus. Now Mars is going to energize and activate all of those things around Uranus that I've just talked about. It's going to activate the awakening. I think there could be a lot of awakening running up into the Aries equinox, in massive awakening of many, many people. Also, we have a sextile between Jupiter at 7 of Pisces and Uranus at 10-11 of Taurus. This is a beautiful sextile. This will get tighter in the second half of February. Both are futuristic planets, both are to do with freedom, but when they come together like this is like an opening up of our consciousness, an expansion of our consciousness, potentially. So, you know, this can be really positive, really beautiful. Also, Mars at 5 of Capricorn is sextile to Jupiter at 7 of Pisces. And this can be great for initiating new projects with courage, Mars, stepping bravely into something new. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. It's wonderful for setting a goal and then being able to achieve it, particularly when it's has the vision of Jupiter behind it. So really look at where Mars is falling in your chart. The house area will be activated for the period that Mars is moving through that house. Jupiter spends roughly a year in each house, and it normally brings the expansion or some kind of growth or recognition or success around the affairs of that house. So we've got some really very positive aspects happening here at this new moon in Aquarius. Things I just want to point out, I've talked a great deal in the past about Eris at 23 of Aries in square to Pluto, 26 of Capricorn, and also squaring over here, so it's a T-square, Homea at in the late degrees of Libra. So I've talked about that a lot, and how Homea is a wonderful symbol for new earth, a very fertile, creative, regenerative symbol. Can regenerate the earth very rapidly with her magic stick, the Macaulay. But there's another T-square that I want to highlight here. And as I promised, I'm going to be talking more about the Kuiper belt objects way up, generally beyond the realms of Pluto this year. And many of them are dwarf planets. I'm going to be two experts, I think, to follow with these Kuiper belt objects are Alan Clay, who runs the Dwarf Planet University, and also wonderful astrologer in the US, who I've mentioned before, Kelly Hunter. I'll put her website below. She has done some wonderful research with these Kuiper belt objects, and I'll be drawing on some of her research here now, and therefore I wanted to very much credit her. Now, what is interesting here is that we have Chiron, the planet of the wounded healer, if you like, that archetype at 9 of Aries. That is linked to sickness, but also inherently linked to healing. That is conjunct, I put it here, a dwarf planet called Salacia at 5 degrees of Aries. Salacia in myth was the wife of Neptune. She's linked to mermaid energy and associated with the shimmering moonlight and sunlight on the sea. Very beautiful. And to me, she's very linked to photonic light, that very white, bright light that we can see so easily. These are the new light codes coming in to help to heal us. Conjunct Chiron. Remember, these dwarf planets, these Kuiper belt objects, have very slow orbits, roughly 250 to 300 years on average. Eris is longer, it's 560 years, Sedna's 12,000 years, it's way up. So this T-square is going to be staying here for many months. So Salacia, photonic light, new light codes, I believe very much part of our healing moving forwards. And of course, they're light technologies that already exist to help with healing. And I haven't been involved or experienced any of them, but for instance, there's something called Tachyon, a Tachyon light capsule, tachyon.org. I'll put the link below. There's something called the harmonic egg that apparently uses light technology. So again, I'm not on commission. I've never experienced them, but I just give them to you for your own research. So they are squaring, and it doesn't look like a square, 90 degrees, but it is because of this squiffy chart. Quaoar, Quaoar, at 5 degrees of Capricorn. Now, I've mentioned Quaoar before, one of my absolute favorite dwarf planets, a creator god linked to the Tongva people who originally inhabited the Los Angeles basin. They were all about creating through joy, creating through high frequency. So what they would do before they set their intentions they would sing and dance to raise their frequency to a high level, and then set their intention to manifest. It was all about creation through joy. We are going to learn a lot about frequency being the fundamental principle of our universe. How frequency can help us heal, how frequency can help us manifest the most magnificent reality. And Quawa is square to, and Selassie and Chiron are opposed to. I think I've mentioned this Kuiper belt object before, spelled make, but it's pronounced maki at 8 degrees of Libra. Now, maki is linked to the Birdman god of the Rapa Nui people on Easter Island, the great sea spirit of Easter Island, very fertile, linked to the principles of birth and fertility. And in myth, the Birdman god or the great sea spirit was believed to, it's a belief in pantheism, really, that everything in nature had a life force, had spirit. Water, rocks, plants, everything had life force and spirit. Beautiful. And despite Easter Island only being about 13 miles across with no fresh water supply, they had a thriving ecosystem, abundant food. It was never a problem. But then when the European traders started to arrive through the sort of 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, they took some of the indigenous people as slaves. They pillaged the island. They cut down a lot of the trees, and disease began because a lot of rats got off the ships onto the island, and there was a lot of disease. So maki is actually very interesting, linked to pandemics and also ecological disaster, really, really exploiting nature. And at one point, historically, it said that there were only 111 inhabitants left on Easter Island. And you think, how could they possibly come back from that? But indeed, with their close connection and understanding of nature and this principle of the great sea spirit, the Birdman god, maki, being one of regeneration, creativity, rebirth, they did turn around nature and the ecosystem on Easter Island, which now, of course, continues to thrive. So it's powerful healing potential coming in again. And there seems to be such a message in these Kuiper belt objects of not only creation, high frequency, but a profound shamanic connection to nature. This is what we've lost in our sophisticated modern civilization. We have really lost something magical that is so profoundly healing. And we're going to rediscover it again. This is part of New Earth. It's a combination of a leading edge understanding of quantum physics together with an ancient knowledge resurging, I believe. So this T-square is running for quite some time, and I believe is incredibly positive in turning around our health and turning around the state of nature. So I'm going to stop sharing at this point. What I also want to say is that the collapse of 3D is going to continue at a pace through 2022. Tons of drama, tons of color. Just observe from a distance from your eagle's perch. Don't get drawn in as a major focus to that. Because if we're going to create, we can't keep focusing on that because we're going to keep recreating what we don't want, the old stuff. And what will help us to focus on something beautiful to create is this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. I've done a separate video on the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. I'll put that link below as well. This isn't exact until the 12th of April, but we are already into that energy because Jupiter is already in Pisces at 7 degrees. It's the ancient ruler. Neptune is in Pisces at 22 degrees, the modern ruler. And they are gradually coming together as we get towards the 12th of April. Of course, they'll be very close together at the Aries equinox. And this is really, I think, reinforcing the kind of quantum level consciousness of the Kuiper belt objects. Because I talked at length in that Jupiter-Neptune video about the magic, the miraculous around this conjunction. And already people are starting to report a kind of shape-shifting, that their dreams are becoming much more vivid. They're having a lot more synchronicities in their life. They're becoming much more telepathic with other people. They're becoming much more psychically sensitive all round, tuning in to animals and trees and nature in a much bigger way than they ever have. And this is happening quite rapidly. And that is available to all of us, particularly if we're open to that path. And what we'll start to feel increasingly is that our reality is much more malleable, much more fluid than we realized. And of course, it's always been like that. We just weren't in touch with it very well. We were very kind of stuck in 3D reality and linear time. But the magic of this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, this shift in perception, this shift in dimension, is going to show us through our daily experience when we kind of slip between, is this dream, is this reality, have I just time slipped, I've lost time here, and that kind of feeling and tuning into other people, as I say, is going to become much more noticeable for many people. We're going to feel like more wave and less particle. And this, of course, is going to empower us, because we can start to really feel, okay, I can mold this kind of plasma, which is what it is, this plasma, into something magnificent for our future, for the benefit of all. Always think for the benefit of all. Always think altruistically, because then you'll get an even better reality back for you all collectively as humanity. So make that your focus, because there's a super clear choice. These are really different paths. You know, that 3D path is frankly looking grimmer by the moment. And I think many of you understand my meaning there, whereas this higher path, which has some, white feathers, magic carpet rides, creating from plasma, the invisible, the intangible, the ethereal, is more exciting than we have ever known in our lives. Yep, we're stepping off a cliff. Yep, it's a big adventure. Yep, it's invisible. Yep, we've never lived it. Yep, we can't see it. But we can create it. And those manifesting abilities will get stronger and stronger through the Aries equinox and into this beautiful conjunction. And remember that the upgrade is happening at warp speed for many, many people. It's available to everybody, simply down to where you put your focus, how you spend your day, and what you're broadcasting with your frequency. So I hope that's helped you. A lot here, a lot happening, and boy, are we going to start to feel the pace pick up, particularly, I think, around this new moon in Aquarius and onwards through the following months. So hope that's helped you. If you'd like more information about my books, my teaching videos, my long monthly newsletter, just check out my website, pamgregory.com, or thenextstep.uk.com. Thanks so much for listening. Have a wonderful new moon in Aquarius. Don't forget to set a new intention for what you want to manifest in your life. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.